So I'm Jim Fretwell from Biodiversity. I think I've met most of you before, some of you are new faces. My role at Biodiversity is officially, I think it's called Business Solutions Specialist or something similar to that. It's a bit meaningless. Pretty much I dabble in all sorts of things. Primarily I dabble in biosecurity, biodiversity issues and looking at the business of biosecurity and biodiversity. And have been doing that for probably the last 10 years. And over that time we have set about to build a suite of tools to support the primary biodiversity function, and worked closely with Nancy and her predecessors on developing that. And we have last workshop, about this time last year, was it? We presented that. I think most of you have seen it. And actually from the last workshop, who was here at the last workshop? Yeah, a reasonably good number were here. From the last workshop, there was quite a bit of interest in both our system and the iQuest system that I think it's called Ecobase from Auckland, from ARC. And there was a follow-up workshop organised by Paul Fisher down in Nelson to take a closer look at those systems and just see how suitable they were for general adoption across the local government sector. And that was actually a really useful workshop. We had quite a good turnout at that. And really what it came down to is we've taken very much a site-centric approach to biodiversity and soil GIS enabled and all that good stuff. Our development plan calls for basically 2 iterations of development. First iteration was to get all the site information in place, describe the sites fully, get all our monitoring frameworks in place, but we didn't get as far as building the customizable or the configurable monitoring tools. ARC, on the other hand, done exactly the opposite from us. They had done all the configurable monitoring tools and they were getting those doing the sites. And so from the Nelson workshop, what came quite clearly from that workshop was 2 systems merged together would actually be the bee's knees. That would work out pretty right for most people. Site configurable monitoring side of it was configurable, allowed us to do things like specify standards and hopefully in time align our standards for data collection, all that good stuff. So since then we've been just sort of ticking away in the background, putting together a proposal to TIFBIS, the Terrestrial Freshwater Biodiversity Information Systems Fund program, to secure funding to actually get that work done. Currently I have a scoping report that Julian has done for us, which outlines how that's going to take place. And so we are about to actually put that before the TIFBIS committee for sign-off. We have agreement from TIFBIS that we can actually provide them a funding request outside of the funding round, up to about $30,000 to get the scoping done. That will then form the basis for a full application to get all the development work done, and hopefully we can get the work done. So that's where things are at the moment. I'm planning to get the TIFBIS application in the next fortnight. I'm expecting that to go through reasonably straightforward. I'm on the TIFBIS board and I've already sort of lobbied hard around the other committees. Lindsay over there is going to back me up.
No conflicts at all.
Yeah, no conflicts.
I happen to write into the strategy.
I don't use it.
It's all in the great
So we're sort of hoping to get this on track reasonably quickly. Just parallel to this, there was a workshop about a month ago, was it? About a month ago? Yeah. Around biosecurity. Now, we have a biosecurity system as well, as ARC has a biosecurity system, and which I just brought online called Bioweb. Yep. And actually, the same thing sort of happened there. We've sort of built the first half of it, and they've built the other half of it, and actually merging 2 systems actually makes a lot of sense. So we're looking to do the same thing there, but the interesting thing that came out of that is one of the things that we're very interested in doing and making sure that we don't present a fractured face to central government is to not conflict with what IRIS is doing. And the conversation around that biosecurity stuff really hinged around the fact that if we're going to do all this development, we need to do this development in such a way as it can easily be integrated into the IRIS suite of tools. And so Brett Wilson approached IRIS and said, how about it, can that be done? And there's been some conversations happening around that, and I'll leave Derek to fill you in a bit more detail as to how things went yesterday. There was an IRIS meeting yesterday. But that, to me, is really important. That, I mean, one of the things I don't want to do is I don't want to front up to TIFBIS for funding and they say, what's IRIS doing? And IRIS are doing something completely different, and this just creates two parallel streams which conflict with each other. You know, central government have got, you know, a legitimate case when we start doing these fractured approaches to come back and say, well, we're not going to fund it. So we don't want that to happen. We do want to make sure that what we do build is part of an overall nationalised system approach. And basically what we're wanting is for this forum, the Dataversity Forum, to provide sort of, I suppose, a platform for feedback to come into the development of these systems to make sure that they are going to work across the entire country, that any council can pick the system up and it will work. We want to make sure that we actually have support of local government to actually go to funding. I don't want to go to funding and find, you know, go to TIFBIS and say we want some funding, only to find there's only two other councils who want this. I'm not interested in doing that. I'll stay home and do my own stuff if there's not enough support out there. So, you know, this isn't a pitch to go, you've got to be in, or we're not going to do this. I'm just saying, for us, we don't want to create a fractured interface to local government. If we come and see it, it will be seen as competition to IRIS, we haven't met the goal. As far as I'm concerned, a nationalised approach is the most important thing. On the flip side of that, we believe that there's been significant input into these existing systems from ourselves and ARC to safely say that it is a good representation of local government, what local government needs. And so we're strongly asking IRIS to consider letting us carry on with this development with the view to integrating it into IRIS as a model way down the track. And so that's sort of where it stands. What we are looking really for you to do today is actually to indicate whether you support us going to TIFBIS and actually applying for funding, and whether you're interested in being a named supporter of the application from your council. So if you're interested in doing that, come and see me. Just on that whole support side of things, one of the disturbing things that happened recently is I talked to my CEO and said, you're going to the regional CEOs conference, how about you have a bit of a talk about this? And he got absolutely slammed as this being a DOC initiative. So there was sort of a mixed message out there amongst CEs that, you know, DOC are trying to get us to build the system so they can give us all their work. So I encourage you to communicate with your CEs about Dataversity and what the Dataversity Forum has actually been able to achieve in terms of collaboration and working together. Because I think it's really important that we get the message to our CEs that actually we as a community are working well together and are sharing, you know, they just need to spend 5 minutes on Dataversity to see how much information is being shared. And you know, I think Dataversity as a forum is fantastic. It's alive and well. And see it as got a great future in supporting this national initiative and getting national standards. I mean, that, you know, I suppose the biodiversity managers utopia, get national standards and national systems that all just work. But we need you to talk to your CEs and your managers and get them up to speed on this stuff so that when these CE forums come together, they actually all are on the same page and we're not ending up with you know, these paranoid responses, which CEs are great at. But you know, it's the absence of information, really, and that's the big thing. We have a responsibility to address that.